We continue now at the top of Daf Yomi Gemara Meseches Yevamos. This is Yevamos Daf 5b. The Gemara now returns to its original source for asay doche los asay. The Gemara in the previous Talmud said el liolam. Rather, we'll go back and say mikra kama, that really even according to the Rabbanon, the source is the original pasuk. As Rashi over here says, mikra kama dekilayim b'tzitzis. The fact that asay is doche los asay when it comes to shatn is by the mitzvah of tzitzis. Udeka'amrit, but that which you asked the Rabbanon, that according to the Rabbanon, the lo yaser lahu tzemru pishtim. There is no extra phrase of tzemru pishtim, because according to the Rabbanon, beged, it does not automatically mean tzemru pishtim. So menolahu dekilayim b'tzitzis shari delesi asay v'dachi los asay. So how do they know? How do they know? What is the source that kilayim by tzitzis is permitted, that the asay is docha the los asay? And so the Gemara explains, imkain, if so, as Rashi over here says, imkain delav la'afnuye, if so, that it was not an extra phrase, lichtov tzitzis, let it just write tzitzis, as the Gemara is about to say, imkain lema krot tzitzis taselach. If you did not have any extra words, then you would just write the words tzitzis you should do for yourselves. Gedilim lamali, what is this word gedilim? Using the strange word for tzitzis, saying gedilim instead of tzitzis. So therefore it's from that change in phrasing, that's actually the extra phrase, and it's from that extra phrase that we learn out again that asay is docha los asay, the mitzvah asay of tzitzis is docha the los asay of kilayim. Shma mino lafnuye. You see from here that it's to be an extra phrase and to say that we learn out asay docha los asay. But the Gemara says gedilim is used for something else. Haila shiura hudasa. Isn't the word gedilim, isn't that used for the shear, meaning the measurement, the amount of tzitzis that a person needs to have? How do we learn that out? Because the word gedil is shnayim. The word gedil means two, and gedilim arba. Gedilim, it means four. So I say gedil uposleyu mitocho. It means you make this gedil and then you fold it. That's why we say we have 8 strings. It's actually 4 strings that are folded over. As Rashi over here says, gedil shnayim, efshar lasos gedil bepachos mishnei chutin. You can't make a gedil with less than 2 strings, less than 2 threads. And gedilin arba, gedilin means you have 4. Chutin, it means 4 threads. Demiut gedilin shnayim, because you have 2 gedilim. And again, a gedil is 2 threads, that's 4 threads. Uchsev v'nosnu al tzitzis haknaf pesil. It says you put it on the corner. Amra Torah asay mehanach arba chutin gedil echad. It says make from these 4 threads, make 1 gedil dehavalu ches chutin. That's going to come out to be 8 threads. When you put them into the corner of the beged. So in other words, this word gedilim is actually used to say that there are 8 strings, which are actually formed out of folding over 4 strings, 4 threads. And the idea over here is that the word gedilin actually means twisted threads. So you can only twist threads if you have 2 of them. So you take 2 threads and you twist them among each other. So that's 2. And again, it doesn't just say gedil, it says gedilim. So you have to have 2 twisted, which means you're going to have a total of 4. And then the Gemara says, uposleu mitocho. Now you take these 4 threads, posleu mitocho, Rashi is going to explain, sheyu teluyin pesilin shelo yasa kulo gedil. Don't twist the entire thing. Let it all hang out at the end, as we have in our own tzitzis. We twist the threads, but then at the end of the final knot, all of the threads come out and they become open threads. Elaketsas gedil, uktsas anaf, you should have some of it twisted and some of it not twisted. And when you do that, you end up having actually 8 strings coming out, because you have 4 strings. Again, you're folding them over, you're twisting them together, but then you're releasing them at the end, so to speak, and that's why we have 8 strings on the tzitzis. And so the Gemara continues, imkain, if so, meaning if that's the only thing that gedilim was being used for, there was no extra phrase, but still we have something that the pasuk could have said, le makra lo sil bashatnis. The pasuk could have said, don't wear shatnis. Tzemeru pishtim yachtav lamali. It's that part that's extra. It doesn't need to say tzemeru pishtim yachtav. It already says, don't wear shatnis. That extra phrase, what is it coming to teach us? Lamali, what is it for? Shma mino lafnuya. Again, it's coming to be an extra phrase, and it's again from that particular extra phrase we'll learn out asay docha los asay. But the Gemara still says, "V'yakatimi boile." Still, don't we need this pasuk? L'tokef shtei techifos chibor, utkifa achas eino chibor. As Rashi over here explains, tekifa shetochev techiva achas b'machat. If you take the needle and you string the needle through one time, v'chiber kilayim beged semeru beged pishtim yachtav, and then just with one thread through, that's how you attach the wool and the linen. So the halach is eino chibor. That's not considered really attaching. It's not a problem of shatnez yet if it's just one stitch. stitch. But pachos mishtet kifos, if it's less than 2 stitches going back and forth, it's not considered attached. That's why it says semer upishtim yachdav. The yachdav is coming to teach us something. It's saying that it has to be attached in a way that is strong with shtei techifos. But the Gemara continues, all the pasuk was teaching us lichtov rachman, and then the pasuk could just write lo silbash tzemer upishtim yachdav. It could just say, don't put the tzemer and pishtim together. We'd understand shtei techifos. But shatn is lamali. What do you need this extra word shatn is for? Again, the Gemara says shema mino lafnu. You see, it's an extra word in the pasuk, and again teaching us asay is docha lo saseh. But the Gemara says still v'akati still mi boile ad sheyeshua tavoi v'nuz. The word shatnez does teach us something. It teaches us the way in which it has to be woven together. Rashi over here says shua tavoi v'nuz min haTorah eino chayev, meaning mido rice you're not chayev ad sheyeh hatzemer v'hapishton, unless you have the wool and the linen mesukon yachad heitev b'misrak. They have to be fixed together nicely b'misrak using the comb. Shua, Rashi says lashon cholak. It's like done in a smooth manner. Nuz is a lashon of orug, woven together, and has to be in tavli, means spun together. It's got to be smooth and spun, and it's got to be woven together. Only in that fashion, on a dough raisa level, is it considered shatnez. So the word shatnez is not extra. And so the Gemara answers, Ela kula mi shatnez nafka. Actually, the whole thing really is learned out from shatnez. That is the extra phrase. Rashi over here explains, Kula mi shatnez nafka di'ilaf nuye lechud nichtov lo silbash kilayim tzemer upishtim. If you just wanted to have an extra phrase, you could have, instead of using the word shatnez, you would write lo silbash kilayim tzemer upishtim, and that extra word, you don't need to say lo silbash kilayim tzemer upishtim. That's your extra phrase. But the Gemara didn't just do an extra word. The Torah rather didn't just do an extra word, it used an extra strange word. Umida'apik rachmana b'lashon shatnez, from the fact that the extra word wasn't just kilayim, but it was the word shatnez, darish beinamiha. So then you additionally get out this idea of shua tavei v'nuz, that it's combed and it's spun and it's woven. So therefore the Gemara essentially saying is that the word shatnez is extra. Not only is it extra, but it's also a strange word to use, and therefore the fact remains that it is extra, and you could still learn out shua tavei v'nuz, and we learn out that asay is docha lo saseh from this. But the Gemara says, Eshkechon de'asi aseh v'dachi lo saseh greda. Getting back to our original point, we only see from here, from tzitzis, that a regular aseh can be docha a regular lo saseh, a lo saseh greda. But that's not the case over here by yibum and arayas. Lo saseh sheyesh bo kares. But when it comes to a lo saseh that has kares, when we're talking about arayas, we're talking about a lo saseh with a punishment of kares. Heicha eshkechon de'dachi. So where do we find such a thing, that it can even be docha, and aseh can even be docha, such a lo saseh? That we don't yet see. That now we need the word aleh to come along and say that no, don't do the yibum, it's usher to do the yibum. In other words, the implication of aleha is that in general an aseh can be docha, even a lo saseh that has kares. Where is the source for that? The Gemara spent a lot of time trying to determine the source of aseh, docha, lo saseh in general, but now we're returning to our specific case and saying, where's the source that an aseh is docha, lo saseh with kares? Now maybe you're going to suggest that we should learn it out from bris milah, because the halacha is bris milah is docha Shabbos, and Shabbos of course is a lo saseh that involves kares. So there's your source. The aseh of milah is docha Shabbos, aseh docha lo saseh, even that has kares. But you can't bring a proof from milah, because ma'ala milah shekein nichrasu aleh shalosh esrei brisos. Bris milah is not a normal mitzvah aseh; it's a very strong mitzvah aseh, because there's a covenant, 13 covenants, 13 brisos are made over the mitzvah of bris milah. They are said by the parsha of milah, as Rashi over here says. Shlosh esrei brisos amurim beparshas milah. There are 13 brisos in the parsha bris milah. You can't bring a proof from bris milah. And so the Gemara tries another source, Pesach. Maybe you can say a proof from Pesach, the idea being that you can shech the korban Pesach even on Shabbos. Aseh is docha lo saseh of Shabbos, a lo saseh that has kares. But that's also not a good proof. Mala Pesach shekein kares, because Pesach, the aseh itself, is a much stronger aseh. It's an aseh that if you don't do it, it involves kares. So maybe only that kind of an aseh can be docha lo saseh of kares. So the Gemara tries another source, mitamid. What about the korban tamid? Korban tamid is a mitzvah saseh, and you bring it again on Shabbos, even though Shabbos is a lo saseh with kares. But malat tamid shekein tadir, you can't bring a proof from the korban tamid, because that's a regular korban. It's brought every single day. It's something that is tamid. It's always, and so therefore, of course, it's docha Shabbos. So the Gemara says none of these are good sources for a general rule of aseh docha lo saseh with kares. So mechada lo asya tesim mitarti. If you can't learn it out from one of these cases, put two together and learn it out from the combination of both. We say it's called a tzad hashava, that each one is not like the other, so you can drop anything that is unique about each case and say a general rule that asay is docha lo asay with kares. So the Gemara says, which two? Meheitesi, which two should we put together to learn out the general rule? Mimila upesach, if you put together bris milah and pesach, they are unique in the same fashion. Shekain kares, because both of them are mitzvahs asay, where if you don't do it, there's a punishment of kares. They both are a strong mitzvahs asay. It wouldn't tell us anything about a regular mitzvahs asay. Mi pesach utamid, you want to try to combine carbon pesach and the carbon tamid. Shekain tzorach gavoa, those are things that go to the mizbeach. That's a very strong kind of asay also. Karbonos, you can't learn out in a normal, regular case, let's say, of an asay of yibum. Mimila v'tamid. So the Gemara says, okay, put together bris milah and the carbon tamid. Gemara says, no, shekain yeshno lefnei hadibur. Those are also unique because those mitzvahs actually they applied even before Matan Torah. There are very few mitzvahs that were given before Matan Torah. The bris milah and the carbon tamid were some of those mitzvahs. V'aliba the mandamar, this would follow the mandamar ola sheikrivu Yisrael b'midbar, that the carbon ola that Klal Yisrael brought in the midbar, olas tamid have, it was a carbon tamid, meaning it was brought before Matan Torah. Rashi over here says, v'aliba the mandamar Meseches chagiga, this was in Meseches chagiga, ola sheikrivu Yisrael b'midbar, d'chsiv vayalu olos olas tamid have. This is in Shemos Perek Chaf Daled, it says vayalu olos. Again, before Matan Torah, what kind of ola was it? So it was an olas tamid according to one man, Amar. So again, that was yeshno lefnei hadibur. So again, olas tamid have it, that was an olas tamid. So you can't combine two. You can always find something unique about the two that wouldn't apply to a normal case. Umikulu nami. Now you can't even learn from all three together. Shekain yeshnan lefnei hadibur, because the truth of the matter is all of them were before the Matan Torah. Meaning it's not only bris milah and not only the carbon tamid that were yeshnan lefnei hadibur. Even carbon pesach we know was before Matan Torah. So you really can't learn out from these three. So the Gemara says, Ella itzrich, rather it is needed, because I might have thought, Tesi mi kibud of aim. I need the word aleha, because I could have learned from kibud of aim that an asay is docha a los asay. As Rashi over here says, Sal gadai tachamina ilo ksiv aleha lidrasha. If not for aleha, Tesi asay v'dachi los asay sheyesh bo kares. I would think that an asay is docha los asay of kares. From what source? Mikibud of aim. From kibud of aim, as the Gemara will now explain. Mikibud of aim, the Tanya. From kibud of aim, as we learned in a brisa. Yachli kibud av v'aim docha Shabbos. I might think that kibud av v'aim is docha the mitzvah Shabbos. Talmud lomar ish imo v'yav v'tiro v'es Shabbos society shmor. You have to fear your father and mother, and you have to keep Shabbos. So in other words, if your father instructs you not to keep Shabbos, kulchem chayavim b'chvodi. You're all chayav in my honor. You're all chayav to keep Shabbos. That's what we learn from this pasuk, ish imo v'yav tiro, but everybody has to keep Shabbos. So what does this mean exactly? My love, is it not? Diyamar le shechotli. The case is, the father said, shecht for me. That's an av melach on Shabbos, as Rashi says, that is your chayiv kares in such a case. Basheli, or he says, cook for me, also that's kares. And what's it saying over here? V'tayim with the kos of Rachmanes Shabbos society shmoru. The only reason that you're not supposed to violate Shabbos is because the pasuk says you have to keep Shabbos. Halav hachi, if not for that, dachi lo, dachi, then it would push it off. In other words, it seems to be from the pasuk, it's implied that in general we would think that the asay of kibud av v'aim would be docha the los asay of Shabbos, which involves kares. It's only that the pasuk specifically says ish imo v'yav tiro, that's Shabbos society shmor, that it's not. So this is a source over here that asay is docha los asay. So the Gemara says lo no, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Vav Amud Aleph.